All right, we are back with the weekly SKTLs community / volunteer call, joined almost, as always, by Cody Willard. We're missing him last week.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Good to have you back, amigo. Dan Geraci, Piper's here as well. And did you tune in last week, Cody? Or
I tried. I
Okay.
was trying to get back to the office and I couldn't get it to work on my phone. And then I lost. I live in the middle of nowhere these days in New Mexico, and I lost reception. So no, I did not even watch it. But did you guys get to talk to Aaron?
Yeah, it was a good discussion. We had some questions for him, and Dan and him had a great conversation, I thought.
Yeah, he and I've known Aaron for a while, so
great. I just wasn't even sure if he got on, and I felt bad. So actually, I did know afterward, but at the time, I didn't know if he had gotten on. So
yeah.
Hi, Piper.
No, we talked mostly about you. Yeah,
Piper's got his SKTLs hat on. That's rocking well. Yeah, nice. We have, by the way, everybody watching, if you go to SKTLs.com, there is a swag section on the menu. And you can buy playing cards that have SKTL tokens on them. You can buy baseball trucker caps, I guess that is. We also have baseball caps, backpacks, Nerf boots.
Shirts, socks.
Is that the baseball or trucker cap?
There's all socks in there, yeah.
That's the trucker cap I know because I gave it to Piper. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So,
what's
how
up
about Virgin Orbit? You guys maybe don't know this if you're just a random non-financial hedge fund guy who looks at space stocks all the time, but Virgin Orbit went basically bankrupt this week. They filed for it yesterday. We talked a couple weeks ago that they were going to try to get money on Friday 2 weeks ago from some random guy in Miami or something. And I think I told you guys at the time, I did not think that was going to happen. It did not. And they are now filing bankruptcy and hoping that out of Chapter 11, they'll be able to get at least the assets of the company and maybe a few of the employees to have another life, maybe get bought by someone or something. Virgin founder Richard Branson did give them a DIP, debtor in possession facility of tens of millions, I don't know, 30 million, I think I saw. Dan, your thoughts? Cabana, anybody?
I was just going to say, I guess before Dan gets into it, I'll just throw this out there like as more of a question. Do you think that they kind of like did it backwards in a sense to where, shouldn't the first priority of getting to space be for like functionality and, serving the world and setting stuff up for, your countries and whatnot instead of like this touristy kind of thing? Like, shouldn't that be like in the 7th or 8th inning?
Let's clarify one thing then. Virgin Galactic still around.
Okay.
They're they are the space tourism company.
Okay, maybe I got that
correct.
Confused.
Virgin Orbit was a related company initially and still sort of under the Richard Branson umbrella. Virgin Orbit, as the name might imply, was about doing what you just said, Cabana, getting small satellites into orbit. They had 4 successful launches in the last 6 years or 3 years and 2 failed launches. And the most recent failure was enough that, they just weren't going to run out of money. I thought you were going to get to the fact, would you pull up a chart of SPCE, which is Virgin Galactic, or VORB, and go back to the full time that they've been around, if you would, Cabana. And everybody will notice that what made no sense that they did do backwards, and they shouldn't have. They should have. The Virgin Galactic went public at 10, stock went to 8, and then it went to 70. And at $70 a share, it was worth like $22 billion. And they didn't do a secondary. They could have done a 10% dilutive secondary and put $2 billion in their checking account. Look at that thing. It's 70.
Yeah. But I think,
whatever.
It was valued at 70. And, the market doesn't lie, as we know, Cody. And, at least not for long. And so, the notion that you brought up, Cabana, about, the touristy thing, tourism always opens up most new markets, and it's a cool thing, even though it's a separate part of the company. I don't think they should have split the company to begin with. I think they should have gone after a collective value, had the belt and suspenders approach a little bit. But it's what I call a distracted company. Ownership is distracted. It's not the sole focus of getting out of bed in the morning for the founder, nor was it set up to compete properly with those it chose to compete with. I think, Branson was competing with his peers, but his company couldn't compete with his peers' companies. And I think that was one of the issues. And there are people out there now, trying to scoop up and advertise for employees, which is great. A lot of good people. No one would have bought it, because why buy something and overpay for assets or goodwill when you either have that stuff or can buy the people rather than having to buy the overhead that comes with it. So
Dan,
it's gonna be a trivia question, as I like to say, in 20 years, just and some companies we can name from the mid-90s. But
before you move on dismissively from it, I want to ask you a quick question, but we should just quickly introduce Jeremy Grimmett down below. Hi, Jeremy. We'll come over. Guys. We'll get Jeremy. I'll give him a formal introduction here in a minute. We're going to let Jeremy give a little presentation, maybe talk for 5 or 10 minutes like we did with Aaron last week. And I bet he'd love to take questions anyway afterward too. So, but Dan, what the idea of the Virgin Orbit, unlike Rocket Lab or SpaceX or Blue Origin, SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Rocket Lab do vertical launches, right? So they go straight up from the Earth. The Virgin Galactic and Virgin Orbit both do horizontal launches on the bottom of a giant airplane, and then they do a rocket ship off the bottom of the airplane and shoot that thing out once you're up at 50,000 feet or some high elevation. Is there a future for horizontal launch? And if so, is the Virgin Orbit assets out of bankruptcy going to be actually valuable to Boeing or somebody?
Unless there's IP that nobody else has. And for underbelly launch, there isn't a whole bunch of that for horizontal. But I think there's a future. But what has changed from the early days of Orbital Sciences and those companies who were doing horizontal launch is suddenly now we can ride share hundreds of CubeSats or small sats into orbit at a time. And the cost is incredibly low and getting lower. Horizontal launch, specialty, smaller payload, fewer items. I believe it will become more of the, on-demand, need to go plug a hole, fix something in a hurry. But even then, you're going to have these smaller vertical launchers, of which, there are a million, but, I say 20 survive tops, who can get stuff up in a hurry. And Space Force is already making those plans by getting rocket launchers into its orbit with regard to rapid deployment to replace, either down, damaged, or, stuff that's knocked out by our adversaries. So it's going to be an airport-driven business. Spaceports, I think, have been overblown. There isn't a good business model unless you're a vertical launch spaceport. You can just build additional runways at major airports the way we did for the cargo industry. So you've got a separate runway for FedEx and UPS and all that stuff. It's not going to require some special 1,000 acres in the middle of no place to launch horizontally. And so we're going to be challenged for vertical launch. We are today for sites. And I think you're going to see the government have to wrestle with itself to allow for more which is going to create a hell of an industry for every small country that's near the equator or in a, a circumpolar or some other, location to say, hey, we've got an industry now. We can launch stuff from our little piece of dirt in the middle of the ocean, which is great. I just don't see the market going toward horizontal launch in a big way. I think that we've cracked the code on vertical with volume and therefore lower unit costs, lower cost per kilo. And I don't think you're going to see a lot of horizontal companies standing up. I mean, it's pretty quiet.
No pun intended.
You like that? Even the existing players, i.e. the 0G model of, the Vomit Comet ride for training and testing. That's going to be a small end of the touristy market. I can spend $4,000. I can't spend 200 to take a ride on Blue. And they're now planning to get underbelly launch capability for those planes. But where's all the volume going to come from? You don't see the DoD looking for horizontal launch capacity. They're looking for vertical launch capacity in a big way from amongst the 150 or so launchers that are out there today.
Thank you, Dan. Awesome.
Anyway, talk to Jeremy.
I could actually speak to that a little bit.
Yep.
So I agree with what Dan is saying to a very large extent. What you have to understand is that horizontal launch is not really about horizontal launch. That's not really what it's about. It's about the mobility of the horizontal launch. It's about being able to bypass FAA regulations and launch a satellite right up into orbit from, the middle of the damn ocean if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. It's about, hey, we have an issue with this thing in orbit and we need to put eyes on that thing, or we need a repair to this thing and we need it now. Like not 2 months from now, not 2 weeks from now. We need someone to take this block of electronics, which is a repair spacecraft, bring it to this, or have the launch vehicle brought to it, in this case, integrate it, throw it on the bottom of the plane, drive the plane to the appropriate inclination launch space, okay? And then you pop that repair vehicle up there within hours. That's what it's really about. And the only real customer for the moment that we really have is defense, is government, because that's all part of the tactically responsive and the RELARS types of efforts within Space Test Program and DoD is to try and get those types of rapid launch capabilities up and running so that we can deal with adversaries or deal with repairing things or deal with inspection, observation. That's really where those small sat programs are going to benefit. However, because of the inflection point that's really just happened, it's really sad because we have a couple of launch providers, namely like Virgin Orbit, they are on this decline when now there is a complete inflection where demand on launch has outpaced the available launch capacity. And it's like,
Jeremy, hold on. Dan, this is something that you have hit on repeatedly in the last month, the fact that the Department of Defense, and when we talk about Rocket Labs, one of the reasons I feel that Rocket Lab will be, no matter what, the government's going to help them survive because they need, as Dan keeps saying, immediate ability to what you just said, Jeremy, get those small sats up at any moment, and they need redundant, not just one company. They need lots of companies helping them get stuff to space immediately. Go ahead, Dan.
But Jeremy's touching on the real key, and it's the repair, instant, short mission, single mission, if you will, specialty mission that a single craft with a single payload can get to work fast. What the government needs is that rapid replacement that says, gee, China just punched a hole in a constellation, or knocked out several sats or one critical sat that can't be, belly lifted. It's got to be put on a larger rocket and vertically launched. And so they've gone to, a number of companies, and you're going to see companies like Phantom and Via who got launch capacity, allocated at KSC at Kennedy, and others who are going to be, okay, we think you're dependable enough that you're going to be one of our first lines of standby defense. But I think, to Jeremy's point, what's going to happen is they're going to have to break down the regulatory barriers for rapid launch.
Which is not going to do.
Right. And so then you have a space command mandate that allows them to take control of both launch facilities and launchers in an emergency. Just like, it was done to say, in World War II. Hey, Ford, you're going to build Jeeps, or, you're going to build military vehicles now. You're not going to do anything else. And that's the only way they'll get around the regulatory, is in a state of emergency, national security emergency. And
With
so
that,
there is a market, but it's maybe not
Slim market.
Let
Right,
me introduce Jeremy. Jeremy, you can't talk yet. You got to wait. Nobody knows who you are yet. Everybody. And by the way,
I don't even know why I need an introduction. Everybody already knows me, Cody.
Well, not here. We've got random people that know me who are watching this who've never heard of Jeremy Grimmett. Everybody in space knows Jeremy, but
absolutely,
we're not all space people here.
I don't know about that.
Cabana, next week, we need to start the show off with hey, Dan Geraci, the chairman of the Planetary Society. Cody Willard used to be almost famous. This guy, it's Piper, blah blah. And we need to introduce people and build ourselves up a little bit, right? We're doing a show here. Well, that's my bad. I didn't even think about it until right now.
I mean, really, it used to be like the conference call, so it was that vibe. But yeah, we can turn it.
But now we're doing it on YouTube. So
okay.
We should do a little more formal introduction every week.
There we go.
Jeremy Grimmett.
Ring entrance music.
Jeremy's the founder and CEO of Rogue Space. Cabana, I missed your question in there earlier, but I did put the link to Jeremy's company's website. If you'll click on it and show people. I met Jeremy in Albuquerque when I was hanging out with Dan at a space conference thing, and Jeremy and I have had a couple of phone calls and Zoom calls in the time since then. I love listening to him talk about space. I invited him today because, space companies, and he's got space debris concepts that we'll probably hit on here. So take it away, Jeremy, if you'll give yourself a little more formal introduction than that too, please.
I just want to make sure I understand something. Dan, Planetary Society is in Space Symposium? Or is that another group?
No,
okay.
No, that's National Space No, this is a nonprofit that Carl Sagan started. Bill Nye's the CEO, and I've been the chairman for 17 years. And
that's it. Okay. Yeah. There's a number of different these organizations, and we're members of different things. And it's like, okay, you got to reorient myself. Otherwise, that's like, hey, love your group, love your symposium even more. It's like the highlight of my year. So, I'm Jeremy Grimmett. Really simply, we build space robots. So you R2D2, but for real. We've designed, engineered spacecraft to go and perform inspections, observation, monitoring, and repair, which is one of the reasons why Rogue is a little sad about where things are at with Virgin Orbit, because our spacecraft are designed to be very small, yet very, very powerful. We look at what is our capability per gram. How much capability are we cramming into a single gram of that spacecraft? And bar none, give you a perfect example, like Lara, for example, which is if you want to click on get to know them, I actually have a right there at the bottom of your window right there. There you go. Yep, right there. If I actually have a deck I can spin up if you wanted, but anyway, Lara is our inspection, monitoring, observation spacecraft, and it's by far, it's probably unparalleled in its capability for its size. I mean, you're talking about a spacecraft that is 20 by 20 by 40
20
centimeters?
inches by 20 inches by 40 inches, or what's the metric?
Centimeters.
Centimeters.
So this tiny little thing that's a little bit bigger than a very large boot box is got full 6 degrees worth of freedom and movement. It has millimeter wave scanning radar, LiDAR. Yeah, that's about it. That's about the size. Yeah, it's about the right size. Yeah.
That's have to send up a Smoking Joe boxing glove someday.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
Punch debris.
It's got 3D LiDAR, stereoscopic vision. I think it has 14 or 16 different cameras for view and vision, and all 3 axes, full 360 degree. If you put on if we took a picture and put on a set of VR goggles, you'd actually be able to look completely around and in complete continuity. Let's see, what else has it got? It's also got hyperspectral, multispectral cameras. It's got a ranging radar in it that's about the size of maybe 2 or 4 decks of cards stacked up together with a 5-kilometer range. It's got cold gas maneuvering as well as electric propulsion, and it's an incredibly powerful little spacecraft. And on top of it, it's got a clustered GPU distributed compute system. So it's got triple GPUs loaded inside of it to aggregate and process all the sensor input and communicate maneuvering with the flight computer. So,
Jeremy, that's interrupted. GPU being a graphical processing unit, it's what NVIDIA makes and AMD makes, and what all the rage is about. They need that stuff for AI and for like processing video through Tesla cars or through satellites like Jeremy's making.
That's right. And it's an NVIDIA GPU, and it uses AI and ML. We process all the data in situ, so right there on the spacecraft, and it informs the algorithms the algorithms inform the flight computer on what to do, what to fire, how to move in relation to the target, or even find its way through space. So it's a really powerful little spacecraft specifically designed for close proximity operations. So right up in your face, meters away from you. And we're looking forward to putting that guy up. And then, of course, you got Fred. It's got 4 robotic arms. There's actually a much better set of pictures. If you want, I'll share my screen here.
Go for it.
Let me do that. Let me do that. I don't know how well this streams, but there it is. So present, share screen. Entire screen, there, that one. Sure. There you go. So that's actually what Fred looks like.
Cool. There's what's it do with the arms?
So now if you want to see some really crazy stuff, here, I'll show you this. This is some really interesting stuff. So those arms are, I want to say those are also, I want to say 5 or 6 axis arms, I think they said. And at the end of them, you see those little boxes. Well, those little boxes is where things get really, really interesting. And let's see, MP4. They are capable of detumbling an object in space without actually touching it. So this doesn't look like much. I've got one more that I'm gonna open up here. But what's happening in this video is that little box is moving around on some water. The interesting part of it is that it's moving around using magnetic eddy currents when that box right there is actually aluminum. There's no iron in it. Okay? That's the trippy part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the ability and the algorithms to control objects that are non-ferrous in makeup. So we can take an object in space and we can project magnetic fields through it in order to detumble that object. See, that's the dirty secret of space servicing. That's the dirty secret of space debris removal. That's the dirty secret and the part that everybody skips over. They say, hey, we got this really cool spacecraft and we can go remove space debris. Then we're going to use this arm and this thing to go and grab this piece of space debris and we're going to remove it. Well, the part in between there, that's the trick. Because, see, you have an object in space, and whether it's solar winds, whether it's magnetic fields, whatever it is, over time, that object is going to start moving. It's going to rotate. It's going to spin. It's going to torque. It's going to start doing things that are totally unpredictable. And so that object has the potential to be tumbling in 6 axes, right? Well, how do you go and control that? Simple fact is that you can't. So why are you going to try? You're going to take your spacecraft, get up to the object, and now you're going to try and start spinning and moving in all these different axes in order to go and grab this object. Or you need to build a spacecraft large enough so that the mass differential doesn't really matter, but then you got to go grab something that's spinning in different axes and take the risk of breaking something off and creating more debris than what the debris that you're trying to remove is, and creating a more dangerous situation because it's smaller and you have an even bigger problem. So we said, you know what, why don't we just design something? Why don't we partner with somebody that actually knows how to do this kind of stuff? And so we did. So University of Utah, Dr. Jake Abbott, we worked with him and we now have a functional prototype. And let's see. Yep, there we go. I'm not going to do the audio. So there's Dr. Abbott right there. And that right there is our functional prototype of our what we call Omni magnets. And Omni magnets, we're going to equip those on our spacecraft at the ends, like what you saw in the picture, and we can
Like little
project
boots.
those objects. Huh?
They're like little boots on the end of a dog, a cute little doggy. Yeah.
Except it's a larger dog. What's the size of Fred?
Fred's is a 350 kilograms, fully fueled.
700-pound dog. Yep.
Yep.
Cute little dog.
Fred's kind of cool. The Space Force guys really love it. They think it looks like a murder hornet. So
yep.
What are all the different types of material it can manipulate?
Any metallic material.
Okay.
Anything metallic.
Most satellites are 85% aluminum.
Sure.
You can't actually use a magnet, but you can use a magnetic field.
Right. That's exactly right.
Makes sense.
Jeremy, have you guys applied on the SKTLs.com website for the grant that we will be giving 1 month and a week from today? There will be 5 recipients getting somewhere between 20. Well, they're going to get if the token's right now at 12 cents, it's about 1.2 cents. That's $25,000 grant tokens, in the form of SKTLs, but you can sell
innovative technology for debris removal.
Yeah, you need to put it. But hey, when he's done showing us this, Cabana, go back to the SKTLs homepage, please, and show Jeremy where to click.
Yeah, we'll totally do that. Love to. I mean, if we can mine it, we'll certainly throw it on our GPUs and
no mining. It's literally just the tokens are out there. You know how the tokens are mined, Jeremy? Every time there's a successful space event, we mine tokens. At the end of each month, we go through and we see how many satellites got to space and how many people got to space. And that is how we calculate how many tokens to mine. And half of them go into the fund that does these grants, and half of them goes into these early adopters like me and the other guys on this call who own tokens.
Interesting. Okay. No, it's really cool. Yeah, we'll totally apply. But here you go. There's so this is the model of us moving an aluminum Dr. Abbott and his team moving a disc around in the lab. This is actually an output of the algorithm showing 6 different Omni magnets and firing them in order to manipulate and control an object in free space, and how those projections or how the firing would have to take place. And here is an aluminum sphere, and this is just a single robot arm, as you can see. And they push it around in the tub of water just to kind of move it and show that you can move an aluminum sphere using magnetic fields.
Amazing.
Jeremy's company is doing what I think most people would love to see, because it's the actual really cool space technology. It's not, pushing dumb machines around with a lot of thrust and going from point A to point B. This is the finesse and the elegant end of space technology. And this is kind of this is more of the stuff of science fiction of years ago than it is of, what we've lived with for 60 or 70 years. And it's really cool to see this, because Jeremy's been looking at this a long time.
I'm guessing Fred has a need for propulsion. I imagine you'll have to be traveling the same direction as the object, maybe. So there's, it's easier to use the Omni magnet. Is Fred's propulsion the electrical one that Laura uses?
No, it's a different type of propulsion.
Okay.
Interestingly, so there's a number of trades that were done in order to understand the propulsion. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the trade. It's going to take a second to get through all. Nope, it's actually not going to take that long because it's right here. Let's see. Okay, maybe it will take a second to get there.
Well, it's fascinating. That's the only reason I am inquiring. It's
It'll be a quiz in 5 minutes on these slides.
Yeah, the bottom line is that we have a certain set of requirements, really, and those requirements are incredibly unique when it comes to our ability to maneuver in orbit. So here it is. I'll show you this. So this is one of the trades that we did. And as you can see here from industry, these are the existing technologies based on thrust per kilowatt. And this is all the existing stuff that's out there. That's all of this stuff, okay? And we needed something in this circle right around there, but there's very few options. Most of it is not in readily available. It's not in a position where it can really be manufactured yet. So what Rogue did is we said, okay, well, that's cool. We'll just go figure this out for ourselves. So we brought in PhD plasma engineers to help put together a Hall effect thruster that's actually ubiquitous in nature. So we can ablate pretty much anything. So we can ablate metal, we can ablate gas, we can ablate whatever. If we have access to it and we can get it into the propellant tank, we do that. Now, the other part of that is it requires a lot of power to do this stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, look, why can't we stop looking at heat as this horrible thing? You know, why do we have to keep looking at heat as being so terrible? Why can't we leverage this as a resource? And so we found a way to actually help improve the efficiency of the spacecraft propulsion system by leveraging the heat that's being generated throughout the spacecraft. So yeah, that's one of the things that we've been working on, and we got a lot of funding from NSF to help us figure that stuff out.
Jeremy, you got about 3 minutes to wrap things up if you'd like the last word here.
Well, no, I mean, I think the questions are better because, you know, I like answering things and not just spewing out information people are not necessarily interested in.
Well, it was fascinating to begin with. We're just we usually keep the calls around 30 to 35 minutes. We're at 41. So will you come back again and, you know, stick around, come back next week, you know, just be a part of the community. Love to have you around.
Yeah, man. Love to. I mean, if for no other reason than to give you a hard time.
I thought you were going to say for no other reason than just to get to talk space shit. But whatever, dude. You can give me a hard time.
One thing,
Hey,
Jeremy, would you? So, what's your next big milestone for Rogue? Where are you now?
Oh, that's such a great question. I can't believe I forgot about that. So I will show you. Our next big milestone is actually right here. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, but you're sharing the other one. I think, yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go. That's it. It arrives in Boston today at 4:01 p.m.
Woo.
So that's our big milestone right there. Goes to space June 10th at 1:21 p.m. on SpaceX Transporter 8. And
Congratulations. Very exciting. I guess, knock on wood. We'll watch, man. Come back and talk about it.
The baby.
yeah, we certainly will. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is it. So
That's a space action right there.
Hey,
yeah.
Before we hop off, Cabana, on the YouTube channel, we had a Harry Eastwood ask a couple of questions, and I'll just read them out loud and then address them.
I got them. They're on here.
Oh, there you go.
Pretty much just pertaining to liquidity
Yeah.
regarding the tokens. So let's see. How are you going to address the liquidity regarding SKTLs? The holders and also the companies that get the donations can't trade out of it if they decide to get BTC, BNB, USD, etc. The 24-hour trading volume is a little over $1,000. If people want, or a company wants to trade out, they can't because of little liquidity.
So we have, from the beginning, believed that the marketplace will take care of us. We believe in free markets. We're not going to try to manipulate any of it. We can't create artificial liquidity in a virtuous manner anyway. We didn't place any additional tokens at the pancake swaps or any of the swap exchanges, the peer-to-peer stuff. There are 3,500 holders of this SKTL space cryptocurrency. There are hundreds of people like me who have bids for additional SKTL's cryptocurrency below the market. And when it gets crushed below a penny, I'm going to be in there buying more. It's on the free market. It is an unfortunate reality that at this moment, if you were going to go to try to sell $25,000 or $40,000 worth of SKTL tokens, there's not enough bid in there to do that all at once. That is what it is. I'm not here to, we made a token that cleans up space debris, funds the cleaning up of space debris.
It's
It
not
is
someone.
a virtuous idea. It is in the free market. We can't control it. It is what it is. I do believe that if Jeremy's company, if Rogue Space wins a grant, and how many tokens did we give away? It's 110 million in there. So 5 companies are going to get 10% of that. So 11 million divided by 5, call it, 2.2 million each. And did I do the math right? I think I did. So 2 million tokens each. Look, you're not going to be able to blast out of it, but I would expect that a space-related company would believe in the SKTL space mission enough. They probably wouldn't want to. They're going to hope that in 3 years or 5 years, as this token becomes the de facto currency of outer space, the people on Mars in 10 years are going to buy SKTLs, Mars bars on Mars with SKTL tokens. This thing will be worth dollars, tens of dollars.
It's not going to fund a company, but I think if held on to in the expectation of value creation over time, there will be some significant value built up for a later stage. But you're not going to do a startup and go to, prototyping with this award.
Not at this moment.
You're not going to have exit liquidity down here at these levels after a year of existence.
And look, we have done we're not going to pay for marketing. I will be going. I haven't even emailed Fox or CNBC or anyone yet, but in the next couple weeks, I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, we're doing a SKTL space grant in 2 weeks, and I'll be like, hey, Dan Geraci, the chairman of the Planetary Society, and I would love to stop by or come on, probably do it remote, come on air, and we'll talk about some of the stuff. We'll do a little bit of TV and radio about it. I'll try to get it in a couple of newspapers, but it's a free market, man. To answer your question, Mr. Eastwood, we're just going for it.
It's a community effort, so there's no expectation of profit from the work of others, correct?
It's a startup currency for startups. I mean, that's what we're doing. We're supporting startups with a startup cryptocurrency. That's all.
I heard your reference there, Cabana. Not even going to just not even going there. We
Well, this
truly
has been
gave
great.
away every single token to the fund. There's 300 million tokens created total. 100 million went to the fund. 100 million went to people who registered for free. Didn't have to sacrifice or do anything to get those tokens. They just had to put in their wallet number. And then the other 100 million gets printed over the next 5, 10, 15 years, depending on how long it takes us to get lots of people and satellites successfully into space. If we go out of the solar system with a human being in the next 3 years, every single token that will ever be printed gets printed that month. But I do not expect in the next 3 years, we're going to be sending human beings out of our solar system. Be
At least
cool.
not on purpose.
We did, but no. What's that, Dan?
Not on purpose.
That's terrible. So, Jeremy, here's the homepage. Go to the homepage just so we can see where on the homepage, if you don't mind, Cabana.
SKTL
down. Click here to submit your space debris fund application, and you come in there.
Yeah, I just edited it, so we're in good shape.
See how easy it is? You see, anybody watching out there who has a good idea for cleaning up space debris, whether you're a space company or not, doesn't matter. Fill out the application. We'll take you 5 or 10 minutes, and the community will vote. 5 winners. We've got more than 5 submissions, but not that many. So you got a pretty darn good chance of winning tens of thousands of dollars worth of tokens at the current price that it's trading at. Again, not that you could immediately blast out of it, as Mr. Eastwood asked. Did he say cool? Did he respond, or did he say, hey, can you explain anything further? Are we okay on the questions, Cabana?
That was it so far.
All right. Hey, peace, love, and happiness. I appreciate everybody doing this along with me for nothing except believing in the space revolution and knowing that we got to solve the space debris problem.
And
Or
learning
if
a
you're
bunch of cool stuff.
enthusiast like Cabana. Cabana loves the crypto.
Yeah, but I'm also learning like stuff that Jeremy put out there today was just fantastic.
Oh,
like it's a little
amazing.
hidden gem of this stream. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
amazing.
Cool stuff. It's fun.
Thanks
You
so
wanna-
much, Jeremy. It's really
You
great.
want to know crazy stories? You ought to see how we put that spacecraft together.
That's why you gotta come back, man.
You'll come back next week. Future weeks.
Time
tell us more.
frame that we put it together is more like it, but yeah, got all kinds of
Thanks for being here, Jeremy. We appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody. Peace, love, and happiness. Keep doing the space thing.
Thank you.
Well,